Final segment of hour one of this week's episode of Implicit Bias. If you want to see what the crew looks like, find us on X, find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, find us on Instagram. We'll have clips there. We'll have whole shows there. You can actually find us also anywhere you find podcasts. Implicit Bias Radio, or even just go to implicitbiasradio.com. You can see what the Mr. Lester's TSPL looks like. You can see what I look like. I'm sorry. You can see what Caleb looks like. I'm even more sorry. Or you can see what the bar looks like here in the TSPL. But we do care enough about you to not show you what Walker looks like. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Walker, you know that was funny. You know that wasn't funny, Walker? You got it. This is a visual medium, Walker, and nobody can see you. You have to say it into the mic.
Nodding his head.
It was hilarious.
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. So back to the story that we were talking about, which I said there's so much more here. The one thing that jumped out to me, and this is about pattern recognition from the fires in California. If you start to recognize patterns, you can sometimes see what's coming. And this is one where we're getting a pattern. Well, there was a group of people who talked about, I think it was called, Project 2022 or Project 20 something, whatever.
2025.
2025. But it was before COVID hit that they came out and were discussing, hey, here's how we should react if we get a massive viral contagion. And it was like September 2019, right before COVID hit in February. My shock face. Here's another aspect of the LA fire that not a lot of people are talking about. But, 2, 3, 4 months ago, they were talking about the smart city that LA would become, but also said it'll never happen because we would have to raise 3/4 of the city of Los Angeles. Take a guess what's now happened as Gavin Newsom gets in front of cameras and talks about the redevelopment of Los Angeles. And in some instances, they're even saying things like, I don't know that we'll have the residential density that we had before, or something of that nature. In other words, your home might have been there before, but with the redevelopment, maybe it won't. This really bothers me because this is one that if we're looking at pattern recognition again, we're starting to go, okay, so we know what happened with COVID and they telegraphed their punch. Did they telegraph their punch again?
So when it comes to natural disasters, there are plenty of private entities that capitalize on our misfortune, right? Hurricanes throughout the United States, they go in afterwards and they're like, look, yep, you owned your house, this whole block. Insurance money will pay you this much. We'll pay you that much plus 25% and we'll buy you out. No redo anything else. We'll take it and we'll own the property and we'll handle all that.
Here's the worst part. A lot of these people, as we discussed in the last segment, they no longer have insurance to pay them that.
So now they have people that are going to come in and they're going to offer to buy everything from them for maybe pennies on the dollar. Or they might offer you a little bit more. Long term, we'll see.
Oh, nickels on the dollar.
Nickels on the dollar, yeah. And they're going to go in and do property development. But you're not having someone go in and buy like 1 or 2 houses. You're having a firm that goes in and buys square miles. And then these firms that buy square miles work with other firms that buy square miles. And they have their own vision for the future. So what we saw is a group conglomerate with a vision for the future because they knew it was on the horizon. These people are investors. They are smart and they understand what happens in a natural disaster. They know how hurricanes work. They know how tsunamis work. They know how fires work. And they see when the fruit is ripe for the picking.
Well, you look at it this way. At least they won't have to mow down forest and stuff to put solar farms up. They'll have a bunch of clear property now.
Oh,
that poor little
it's there.
iguana lost his home.
Well, LA wants to be green energy. There you go, buddy.
Yep.
Got a lot of space to put solar farms.
Well, and you look at these people that owned these palatial homes, and now they're like, oh, well, that's one of 3.
Yeah.
I mean, did y'all see the video that came out, and it's Mel Gibson talking to Brandt? Is it Richard Brandt?
Yeah, I believe so.
And he's like, oh, look at my phone. He goes, my house is on fire right now.
Well, one of his houses.
Yeah.
So hold on. That's maybe the next part of this story, which is as we start getting down the rabbit hole, you now have celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't believe me on this one. Please go look this up. You have celebrities who have come out and said, oh, these fires were intentional, and they were intentional because you know what fire's really wonderful to burn? You know what's really hard to get from a scene that has burned, especially as thoroughly as this has? Evidence.
Man,
And
you're bringing Diddy back into this.
You've got celebrities who are saying this.
It's not
this
like
is-
baby oil's flammable.
This, this is all to get rid of the evidence of what Hollywood elites have been doing for years, and they're scared to death of what's going to happen with a new administration about to walk in because they're worried they're going to be prosecuted, a.k.a. they're worried they're going to have a Diddy party.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to burn a house down to get rid of that evidence. There's other ways.
Oh.
There's other ways they can get rid of evidence.
DNA,
but-
DNA when it's all over the home.
If you
And
want
I'm
to get
not going there, but
if you want to get rid of a whole lot of evidence for a whole lot of people all at once, man, a fire's a pretty good idea.
Well, it's going to divert a lot of attention other places that are away from yours. But I think that's a little extreme on that part.
I'm sure it's extreme, but I'm sure it's also.
I think I'd give it that it's just piss poor management.
here's
On the
the
government.
I'm
So
no
here's the-
fan of
I'm
Gavin
gonna blame
Newsom.
it on the government.
Here's
I'm
the
no
really-
fan of him, but look, even he's not that smart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they didn't do their job. That's why they're suffering that right now.
Here's the really fun part. Go look at a list of celebrities whose homes have burned and cross-reference that list with the suspected list from the Diddy white parties and the freak-offs and the Epsteins and all this of the world. When you start cross-referencing these and you're like, wait a minute.
Well, wait,
You don't have to
Did-
cross-reference. There's
did
one
Diddy-
already on X.
Did Diddy?
I saw it. It was
did
60
Diddy's
names.
house burn? Was
I don't know
Diddy's
that
house
Diddy's-
one of?
I don't know
See,
that
now if you
Diddy's
I don't know
burn
if his is
LA home
flammable anymore.
if you're gonna burn something, that's the one you need to burn.
Well, no, because the FBI's already been through it. Grant, you wanted to chime in.
No, just get off the whole Diddy thing because they went through his house and from floor to ceiling. Fire would have done nothing just other than clear away the slime. that
Yeah,
was
but
left
here's
on
the
that
here's
rope.
the really sad part. The really sad part is we know that Diddy didn't throw a party, just him and himself. Diddy had a party with all of his friends. And you start go and look up people who are in pictures with Diddy and people who've attended parties with Diddy.
Yeah,
and
it's-
then
it's quite a list.
it is quite a list. And then when you look at people whose homes have burned, you're like,
Look, it's funny. It made me think of that. Remember that game? They used to have a game, 7 Degrees of Separation from Kevin Bacon.
yeah, it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is like 2 degrees from Diddy.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
You just shake a stick. But look,
This is like 24 inches from Diddy.
But where you went?
I wouldn't say that.
Where you went initially with this, it reeked of the Maui situation.
There's a whole nother
Oh,
look
you
at
talking
this.
about the blue? That's the blue trash.
no,
cans
no,
didn't burn?
no, not about the how it originated, but trying to burn like local people out of their area.
When that goes
You-
back
you're,
to the real
you're talking
estate
about an
development.
area where people have a lot of wealth and a lot of means. So these people, even though insurance may not back them, I don't think they're going to vacate their property or their hometown just. And you need everyone to agree to that.
But interesting.
You're talking about people with money.
Agreed.
Usually that kind
Well-
of plot involves clearing out the lower income group of people.
some of them have money.
because the
Well, hold
land is
on.
desirable.
To go in with that, have you seen about the exotic cars that have been burning? A lot of these people bought Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Koenigsegg and so forth during COVID, right? And they paid 30% too much for these vehicles. They were financed. Well, down here, what happens when a hurricane comes up? If it's got a note, let it float.
Yep.
Over there, if you got to pay, give it away, right? Let it catch on fire. There are people driving Ferraris, driving Lamborghinis into the fires.
Oh, dear
Well,
Lord.
I mean,
And it's not people who can't live within it's not people who don't have the means. They have videos of celebrities doing this.
well, and you
So-
look at some of these houses in Malibu and everything, right? They're right on the coast, literally on the ocean side of the Pacific Highway.
Yeah.
You don't think that they're going to get a permit? They're not going to get a permit for that property, probably. They're going to just leave that open so where, people can
Opens
see
the
this.
skyline.
Yes, exactly.
And Grant, to your point, some of these people have means, some don't. The reality is, to do what they were talking about doing with LA, they don't just need the lower income families out. They need everybody out.
They need all of it.
Everybody out.
And that's what I was saying, because if you need everyone out of an area, the low income and the high income people are going to say, no, we've got this.
Yeah, I don't care about the
They
money.
yeah, correct. So I mean, that's an awful big scheme for something like that. I can see better areas to do it than this, because these people do have money and they do have means other than their insurance.
So you think that the people who have money would not sell because you think they can rebuild?
Oh, absolutely.
So here's where I am with this, and this is a really interesting part of this conversation. Go look at the number of celebrities who have declared bankruptcy in the last 2, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of people that we think have means.
Yeah, they haven't
And they
worked
have
in a
crippling
while.
debt.
They are dirt broke. They
Yeah.
are in over their head. They are financed up to their eyeballs, right? So this would be one of those scenarios where maybe they do
better to
need to
get
buy.
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
for crying out loud,
Easier to get out that way.
for crying out loud, the Rothschilds have put up multiple pieces of property in the last 5 years for auction. And this is supposed to be one of the richest families on the planet. You know who else is rich? You are. Why? Because hour 2 of implicit bias is coming around the corner. If your market doesn't get hour 2, call them. Tell them, I want my implicit bias radio right here in hour 2 when we come back.